years ago, I told my mum that I was going to quit my job at a respectable news organization based in London and head out to Cairo in Egypt to work on developing the region's first ever reality TV show about social entrepreneurs. My mother reacted, I guess, how a lot of mothers would react. She said, well, first she completely flipped out, and then she said that she threatened to flush my passport down the toilet. Once I told her that, I convinced her that this was not a good idea, mostly because it blocked the toilet. She then basically sat me down and said three things. She said, A, you don't speak Arabic. B, you work in news and documentaries, not reality TV. And C, Egypt is going through a violent revolution right now. It probably doesn't need a reality TV show. I could tell that my mom was serious because she communicated this in bullet points, which is something that my mom never, ever does. She's very much an old-school Asian mother. She kind of looks at you, points and shouts, and just basically you do what she says. So I knew that she was worried, and also my friends were also worried. They were concerned, and they said, are you sure you know what you're doing? Is this really the right time to head to Egypt to do this? And also, what does reality TV have to do with social change? What's that about? It's a good point. I'm going to come to that. But first, I just want to take a moment to recognize where we are. We're at TED. And I guess the theme is leaps and boundaries. So what that means to me is that huge shifts are taking place across the globe, and things that, it's not just technology, it's sort of culturally and socially as well, that things are moving very, very fast, including sort of the balance of power shifting across the globe, which reminds me of an article that I just saw a few weeks ago. I saw a headline saying, America in decline. It had a picture of the Statue of Liberty sort of broken into pieces, kind of drifting off into the sea. And this article was really about the geopolitical change that had been happening across the world and sort of had led to a situation in which America was sort of going astray in some ways, or not geopolitically relevant anymore. And it had, for example, bits about the rise of China and India as a superpower, and the global recession. Now, the reason that this article interested me is because I've also been doing a little bit of research into this topic because I have my own theory about the decline of America. And it's a bit controversial, and I'd love to share it with you. It's not peer-reviewed yet, but it's only a matter of time. So this is a graph that kind of highlights something I just said. It's basically the last 15 years of significant events in American culture. Now, my theory was that based on the research, you could trace back and pinpoint that the major decline in American sort of influence was October 2007. So I was trying to work out what happened in October 2007. I thought, could it be a natural disaster of some kind, or perhaps an economic problem of some kind? What I found was pretty shocking. It was neither of those things. It's not like a conventional disaster, although it does share some similarities. So what I found, started in October 2007, was this. Have any of you heard of this TV show called Keeping Up with the Kardashians? Could you just raise your hand if you've heard of the show? Okay, so most of you, but not everybody. If you haven't seen this show, guys, you have to check it out, because if you think your family is crazy, you literally have no idea. This is nuts. So basically what I did is, when you superimpose the ratings for Keeping Up with the Kardashians alongside the Decline of America, you get what you feel is basically a perfect fit. So I just want to say that this graph isn't definitive. I don't want to be sued. So if it may just be a huge coincidence that Keeping Up with the Kardashians started airing at exactly the same time that America self-imploded. That, I guess it's possible, but I leave it to you. What am I really trying to get at here? I guess my point is that most people feel that TV in general is it makes people stupid, basically. And they feel that the genre of reality TV, the genre of TV that makes people really stupid and kills brain cells and sort of dumbs everything down is reality TV. And by the way, if any of you in this auditorium can recognize more than 2 shows on this slide, then your presence here is really like a statistical anomaly. It's sort of like pretty much a miracle. But I don't know whether that's actually true. I'd love to know from the audience, in this next slide, if any of the words that come up ring true for you in terms of being related to reality TV. So let's just go through some of them. Does anybody think that reality TV is superficial? Could you perhaps raise your hand? Okay. How about greed? Does it promote or encourage greed in any way? Is it brainless? Is Elon Musk watching it? Who thinks it's exploitative and cruel? And how about rewarding bad behavior? Okay, so it feels like the general consensus is that it's not great. It's perhaps a disservice to society. Now, I want to frame the question a little bit differently. Perhaps we're not finding a way to make reality TV relevant. We're perhaps not exploring and using the genre to bring out positives in it. So I've done a little bit more research, and these are some of the traits which I think are positive points about reality TV. Undeniably, it reaches millions of people across the world. They're addicted to it. I just have to look at my uncles and aunties and relatives to see they're glued to it day in, day out. It creates strong bonds because it's sort of like episodic content. People are really drawn into the story, and which is kind of different. Audiences relate to real-life situations. I guess unlike fiction, when you see people that are similar to you, there's a connection there. It's a tool for learning, whether it's conscious or unconscious, we get something from it. And it creates role models. And this last one's really important for me because as a British Asian struggling to kind of break it into the media, I really didn't feel like I had any role models. I really didn't have any book reading, culture appreciating parents to kind of widen my horizons. They're very much kind of in a South Asian bubble and prism. And so I actually used TV as sort of a portal and a window to try and understand the world. And it's kind of embarrassing, I can't believe it, but actually I used to look at shows and stuff, and I used to think, well, I used to use TV as a kind of a frame of reference for what was possible in my life and what wasn't possible in my life. And what I learned was that actually, when watching TV, I felt what was lacking was that I couldn't find any people that I could relate to, that perhaps looked like me and kind of were similar to me, grew up in the same area as me, went through the same struggles, had the kind of same culture. So I almost feel as if that there's nothing more powerful than a strong role model and a strong example, especially in an environment in which things might be dark and we don't have a source of encouragement or inspiration around us. Which brings me to Egypt. So some of you will have seen these images from TV and news, and it's really an understatement to say that Egypt's been through a lot over the last couple of years. It's been intense. But what you might not know is that Egypt actually has one of the highest youth unemployment rates in the world as well. Regionally, it's about 25%. It also has a massively young population. I think 75% of people are under the age of 25. And if you put those two together, you have an unemployment rate in the country of between just over 70% for people that are between the ages of 16 and 29. What this does is it creates a really vicious dynamic because people are either apathetic or they're hopeless, and that kind of just accelerates as they get older. This is Mohammed. He's an example of somebody that is 29 years old. He has a university degree. He really wants to start in his career and progress and have a family, but he's really unable to do that because he can't find work. And really, Mohammed is not an exception. One of the first things you realize when you head out to Cairo is that the cafes are full of young men that are basically doing three things. They're smoking shisha, they're drinking tea, and they're watching football, which is great for a few days, but not sustainable long term. It's like a real disaster. And that's why a lot of analysts have said that it's really a kind of potential crisis waiting to happen. What we discovered, though, when we were out in Egypt was that a lot of these young guys and girls had amazing, incredible ideas for social projects that they wanted to start, to have a social benefit in the community and also to make money for themselves. They just couldn't get access to the finance, the resources, the tools that they needed to be able to make it happen. One thing we also discovered in Egypt was that everybody watches TV. The penetration rate is something like 95%. And from 86 million people, that's a lot. That's sort of 82 million people. People also watch about 4 hours of TV a day. So we began to think, how do you find a way to make a TV show that's going to communicate basic business information whilst also perhaps elevating the role of business and social entrepreneurs within the country? And this would be the medium that we used. So we went together, me and a couple of people, and we basically did 5 things. We developed a unique concept for the show. We found some funding. We pitched it to sponsors. We built a local team, and then we just got stuck in making the show. The result was Al-Mashru'a, which is Arabic for the project. It's the region's first empowerment-orientated reality TV show. And it basically brings together 14 aspiring social entrepreneurs from across Egypt, from different backgrounds, to really kind of, all with nothing more than a sustainable business idea to work on their projects. What we were surprised about was that the show, when it was made and it went out early in 2014, for the first 3 months, weekly, it reached tens of millions of people. And it went out on one of the biggest TV networks in the country. It became one of the top 5 shows for the channel. And we have kind of something like 1 million people in our social media community as well that are not just enjoying it, but very much using it as a tool and as a platform to really start getting access to tools that they need to start building their own projects and businesses. And besides the digital platform that we also had this huge outreach element, so that it's not just a TV show, it's a TV show alongside something very practical. So the contestants themselves would go all across the country to every governorate, to every village, to really try and find a way to inspire young people to really believe in themselves and be validated, because often that's what we're finding. People were very, very cautious about their idea. They keep it to themselves, but when they're together, they feel validated that I can absolutely do this. So these are some of the examples of the contestants. They're all very, very different people from very, very different socioeconomic backgrounds and with very, very different projects. But they, now that the show is finished, are all much, much closer to actually realizing and launching their own projects. I guess my big idea is that rather than turn our backs on reality TV as a genre, perhaps we can find a way to sort of redesign it in a way and recreate it in a positive light that's perhaps more encouraging. There are, I think, something like 4.5 billion people across the world that don't have access to internet, and yet most of them do have some form of access to TV. And therefore, TV is this massively, potentially useful tool for educating, inspiring, and encouraging people. And so I guess now the project that we're doing is now spreading into a few other countries like India and Bangladesh, the Philippines, and Tunisia. And I hope that what it does is it serves as some kind of precedent for how reality TV can perhaps have a purpose, and in general, TV can make a difference. Thank you.